There is a moment just before the world stirs awake, when silence blankets the soul, and the heart listens closer. In that moment you are not who the world says you are. You are not your burdens, your doubts, or your scars. You are simply a breath sacred and whole, waiting to be filled with purpose. And it is in that moment, before the rush of routine and the clamor of responsibility, that Psalm 27 can meet you and change everything. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? With these words, the dawn does not just break upon the sky, it breaks upon the soul. It spills golden fire into the caverns of your weariness, into the corners of your longing, into the places where you have hidden your dreams and your disappointments. Psalm 27 is not just scripture, it is a declaration. It is a defiant, triumphant voice against the shadows that try to steal your joy. Each morning when you rise and let these words wrap around your spirit like a mantle of light, you are not simply starting a new day, you are aligning with a greater truth. You are declaring that fear will not have the final say, that the storms may come but they do not own you, that you were born not to shrink back but to rise in glory again and again. There is power in beginning your day with Psalm 27, because it is not a whisper, it is a roar. It is the soul crying out, "Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, yet I will be confident." This is not naive hope, this is warrior wisdom. This is the voice of someone who has walked through valleys of disappointment, who has stared down the face of betrayal and loss, and who has learned that the presence of God is not an escape from hardship, but a shelter in the midst of it. To start your day with Psalm 27 is to clothe yourself in sacred defiance. It is to rise from the ashes of the past with fire in your eyes and truth in your bones. It is to say, "One thing have I asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life." It is to center yourself not in what the world can give or take away, but in the eternal, unshakable presence of the divine. And that changes everything. You see, in a world that moves fast, that measures your worth in output and performance, Psalm 27 reminds you that you are more than enough simply because you are. You are made with intention. You carry the fingerprints of the eternal on your soul. No title, no status, no success or failure can alter that. And when you begin your day rooted in that truth, you begin not as a beggar of approval, but as a vessel of power. This psalm does not promise a life without struggle. No, it dares to speak directly into the struggle. It does not erase the presence of enemies. It declares that even in their presence, you are not alone. Even when you are misunderstood, overlooked, or rejected, you are seen and chosen by God. For he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will lift me high upon a rock. This is redemption, not escape, but elevation, not denial, but transformation. Some days your past will whisper to you that you are not enough, that your mistakes are louder than your prayers, that your failures define your future. But start your day with Psalm 27, and you will hear a different voice, a voice that says, "I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." That voice is not just hope, it is your inheritance. It is your birthright to believe that even in this life, even in your now, goodness is possible, healing is possible, restoration is possible, and yes, growth is possible. Real growth is not always easy. It is not neat or linear. It does not arrive with applause. It comes with tears in the night and questions that go unanswered. It comes with silence that feels deafening and doors that seem closed. But growth comes to those who stay, to those who wait, to those who do not give up when the light dims, but hold on because the light dwells within them. Wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. There is holy power in waiting, not the passive waiting of resignation, but the active waiting of belief. It is the kind of waiting that plants roots in rocky soil and still dares to bloom. The kind of waiting that walks forward even when the road is unclear. The kind that sings when there's no song left, and loves when trust feels broken. This kind of faith is forged in fire. And this kind of faith, this brave, broken, rising again kind of faith, is what Psalm 27 calls forth from you. You were never meant to simply exist. You were never meant to just survive. You were called, chosen, and crafted to thrive, to live from a wellspring that does not run dry, to stand not because life is perfect, but because God is present. And in the presence of God, even weakness becomes strength, even fear becomes fuel, even pain becomes purpose. So my beloved, when the morning finds you, do not rush to your calendar, your phone, or your worries. Find your breath, find your stillness, find the words of Psalm 27 and let them speak over you like a song sung before the foundations of the world. Let them remind you that you are not here by accident, that your life, no matter how broken it feels, still matters, that there is a path carved for you through the wilderness, that the fire in your chest has not gone out. It is waiting for you to fan the flame again. You are stronger than you know, not because of your resume or your reputation, but because your roots run deep into divine soil. You are not the sum of what you have lost. You are the seed of what is still to come. Every morning is a chance to begin again, not from scratch but from strength. Let the psalm lead you there. Let it be the compass when you feel lost, the shelter when you feel afraid, the reminder when you feel forgotten. Let it be your anthem, your armor, your anchor. And know this, you do not walk alone. Countless souls across time have risen with this same psalm in their mouths and this same fire in their hearts. You are part of a lineage of the brave, a family of faith forged in love and shaped by grace. And your life is not just your own, it is a light for someone else searching in the dark. So shine. Shine with the humility of one who has been through much, and the courage of one who refuses to stay down. Shine not because it is easy, but because it is sacred. Shine because the world needs more people who remember that their strength is not in perfection, but in persistence. Not in certainty, but in surrender. Not in being fearless, but in walking forward even with trembling knees. Start your day with Psalm 27, and you will remember. You will remember who you are. You will remember whose you are. You will remember that even when the earth shakes, your soul can remain unshaken. That even when the battle is fierce, the victory is already written. That even when your voice cracks with doubt, the echo of truth will still rise within you. Yes, my dear one, Psalm 27 will change your life. Not with noise, but with knowing. Not with ease, but with eternal assurance. Not by changing your circumstances first, but by changing the one thing that matters most, your heart. Start there, begin again, and let this psalm light your path every single morning. Amen. And as you rise into the day, your body stretching, your breath steadying, know that this choice, this simple sacred act of beginning with Psalm 27, is a powerful declaration that your soul matters. You are not just drifting through this life, tossed by tides beyond your control. You are sailing with purpose. Even if you feel lost, even if the map is unclear, your journey is not in vain. Every detour, every heartbreak, every unanswered question, none of it is wasted. For within each morning lies the invitation to trust again, to believe again, to hope, not because all is well, but because even in the not well there is still light. The psalm begins not with apology, but with proclamation. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Not was, not might be, but is, present, immediate, constant. There is something powerful in remembering that you are not walking into the unknown alone. When you speak those words, you are calling the light into the places inside of you that still ache. You are speaking life over the parts of you that have grown silent in fear. You are refusing to let the darkness define you, and that takes courage. Not the kind of courage that shouts from mountaintops, but the quiet kind, the courage to rise, to choose love, to keep walking when your legs tremble. We often live our lives in reaction. We respond to the chaos, to the noise, to the pressures that knock at our door before we've even had a moment to breathe. But when you begin your day with Psalm 27, you are no longer reacting, you are leading. You are leading your soul gently toward truth. You are saying to yourself, I will not be shaped by fear. I will not bow to anxiety. I will not be ruled by scarcity, shame, or sorrow. I am walking with the one who sees me, knows me, and holds me. There is deep healing in those early hours before the emails and expectations and demands begin. If you listen closely, there is a sacred rhythm waiting to unfold, a rhythm of grace, of peace, of purpose. And Psalm 27 sets the tempo. It does not deny the battles that await, but it frames them differently. It names them honestly, but then roots you in something greater. Though war rise against me, yet I will be confident. That confidence isn't arrogance. It is a holy steadiness, a trust not in your own strength, but in the strength that carries you when yours has run out. And yes, it will run out. Let's be honest, there are days when the world feels too heavy, when grief sits on your chest and guilt rattles in your bones, when loneliness sneaks into your smile and you wonder if anyone sees the real you. There are days when the ache of life outpaces the joy, when the silence of God feels louder than His presence. We've all been there, and that is exactly why this psalm matters so much, because it does not shame your weakness, it meets you there. It says, for in the day of trouble He will hide me. It doesn't say trouble will never come. It says when it does, you are not abandoned. That kind of promise shifts something deep inside. It gives permission to be real, to admit that you don't have it all together, that you are still healing, still learning, still growing. And in that honesty you find your strength. You don't have to pretend to be fearless to be faithful. You don't have to hide your tears to be worthy of love. You are allowed to be human, and your humanity is not in conflict with your holiness, it is part of it. Your scars are not evidence of failure. They are the ink of your becoming. Every soul that walks this earth longs to be known, to be held, not just by hands but by presence, to be seen in our mess and still called beautiful. Psalm 27 reminds you that there is one who sees you completely, your doubts, your regrets, your hidden hopes, and chooses you still, not because you are perfect, but because you are precious. And when you begin your day grounded in that truth, everything changes. You move differently. You speak with more tenderness. You love with more depth. You begin to realize that the way you show up in the world is not about performance but about presence. There is a quiet revolution that happens in the heart of one who remembers who they are, not who they were told to be, not who they feel pressured to become, but who they are at their core, divinely loved, divinely seen, divinely chosen. That remembrance doesn't happen in the noise, it happens in the stillness, in the moments when the world is just beginning to stretch and you are face to face with your own soul. In those moments, Psalm 27 becomes a mirror. It shows you not just who God is, but who you are in God. And when you know who you are, you cannot be shaken, not forever anyway. You might bend, you might weep, you might even fall, but you will rise. You were made to rise. You were not made for defeat. You were not made to be buried by your past or crushed by your failures. You were made for redemption. That is not a distant promise. It is a present reality. Psalm 27 says, I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. This is joy not as a mood but as an offering. Joy that exists not because all is easy, but because all is held in hands bigger than yours. And how beautiful is that, to wake up each day and hand over your burdens to one who does not tire, to pour out your pain into a heart that never turns away, to speak your longing into a presence that listens more deeply than any human ear could. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. To begin your day in surrender is not to give up, but to open up, to say, I do not have to carry all of this alone. I do not have to prove my worth today. I am already worthy. And it is in that knowing, in that deep acceptance, that you begin to live with intention. You no longer chase after love, you live from it. You no longer strive to matter, you understand that you already do. This psalm plants that truth deep into your soil, and from that place fruit begins to grow. Patience, compassion, grace. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You begin to listen more, to speak more kindly, to forgive more freely. Not because it's easy, but because you remember that you too have been forgiven. You begin to walk through your day not with clenched fists but with open hands, ready to receive, ready to give, ready to be part of something greater than yourself. And you are. You are part of a grand sacred story. A story of beauty from ashes, of strength from sorrow, of light from the deepest dark. Your life is not random. Every chapter, even the ones you would rather erase, is part of a larger narrative of grace. And starting your day with Psalm 27 is how you remind yourself of that truth when the world tries to make you forget. Because the world will try. It will whisper that you are behind, that you are not enough, that others have it better, easier, faster. But the psalm says, I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It is a declaration against despair, a promise that this life, your life, still holds goodness, still holds beauty, still holds sacred surprises waiting to unfold, even in waiting, especially in waiting. For there is something holy in waiting with hope, not a passive, empty hope, but a rooted, rugged, unwavering hope. Hope that believes even when the evidence says otherwise. Hope that holds on when everything else lets go. That kind of hope shapes a person. It makes them deep. It makes them tender. It makes them real. And we need more real. We need more souls who have walked through the fire and come out softer, not harder. Who have faced disappointment and still choose joy. Who have every reason to give up but rise anyway. You are one of those souls. Whether you feel it today or not, you are a light. And your light does not have to be perfect to be powerful. So start your day with Psalm 27. And remember this, you are not too late, you are not too broken, you are not too lost, you are right where you are supposed to be for this moment. And from this moment, a new path can unfold, not because you have all the answers, but because you are willing to keep walking with the one who does. Let that be your prayer as the sun lifts into the sky, and your steps move forward. Let that be your anchor when the winds rise and the doubts creep in. Let that be your fire when the day feels long and your soul feels weary. You are seen, you are loved, you are held. And as long as you keep beginning again and again with truth, with intention, with Psalm 27, your life will change. Maybe not in ways you can chart on a calendar or measure in accolades, but in the way that matters most. Your heart will change, your courage will deepen, your peace will expand, and your presence in this world will shine a little brighter, touch a little softer, love a little wider. And that, beloved, is everything. The journey of the soul is not always measured by milestones the world can see. Sometimes the most sacred triumphs are the quietest, the moment you choose hope instead of despair. The moment you rise from bed when everything in you wants to disappear. The moment you look in the mirror and decide, however faltering, to believe again in your own becoming. And when you start your day with Psalm 27, you are not just reciting ancient words. You are stepping into a living conversation with the divine, whispering to your weary self that you were never meant to travel this road alone. There is a rhythm to life that runs deeper than deadlines and routines, deeper than the ever-turning wheel of doing and striving. It is the rhythm of being, a soul sound that echoes from the very breath of creation. Psalm 27 tunes your heart back to that frequency. It silences the clamor of comparison and awakens you to the truth that who you are in your rawest, most unfiltered form is already enough. It does not ask you to perform. It invites you to dwell. One thing have I asked of the Lord, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. To dwell is not to pass through, it is to stay, to root, to find home, not in comfort or certainty, but in presence. And isn't that what the soul longs for more than anything? To know that home is not a destination, but a belonging, that you can carry peace with you even in chaos, that you can walk through sorrow and still be held, that your value is not determined by how much you produce, but by how faithfully you live. And oh, how easy it is to forget that in this world that moves too fast, this world that teaches us to hustle harder, speak louder, shine brighter, until we burn out and wonder where the joy went. But when you rise in the morning and let Psalm 27 guide you, you reclaim your center. You step out of the noise and into the stillness where your truest self can breathe. You remember that you are not a machine, you are a miracle. That you were not created to chase, but to commune. To sit with the divine, not as a stranger begging for favor, but as a beloved returning home. And as the psalm sings through you, it transforms the way you see. You begin to notice beauty again, the slant of light across your floor, the quiet kindness of a stranger, the resilience in your own reflection. You begin to taste gratitude in places you once overlooked. You begin to speak with more compassion because you've been reminded of the mercy you yourself receive morning after morning, breath after breath. There will be days when you do not feel this light. Days when your prayers feel hollow, when your questions seem bigger than your faith. But even then, especially then, Psalm 27 offers shelter. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. Not a promise to erase the pain, but to be with you in it. Not an escape from trouble, but a sanctuary in the middle of it. And there is something so achingly beautiful about that promise. Because to be held in the midst of your breaking is to discover that you are not defined by your brokenness, but by the one who mends you. We do not often talk about the slow, sacred work of becoming, the kind of becoming that doesn't show up in social media posts or progress charts, the kind that happens in the dark when no one is watching, when you are wrestling with your fears, when you are choosing quietly and daily not to give up. That is the kind of becoming that Psalm 27 honors, the kind that finds strength not in display but in depth, the kind that understands that true transformation is not a flash of brilliance but the steady flame that keeps burning through every storm. And what storms we face, each of us carrying our own, the loss that lingers long after the world has moved on, the grief of dreams that never came to pass, the ache of relationships strained or shattered, the battle with self-doubt that wages silently beneath even our brightest smiles. We carry these things, often in silence, often thinking we are alone. But you are not alone, you have never been alone. From the very beginning your story has been seen, your wounds have been witnessed, your tears have been collected in hands that never grow weary. And each time you start your day by turning your face towards Psalm 27, you are joining with countless others across generations, warriors and weepers, seekers and singers, who have cried the same words, who have believed against all odds that there is still goodness in the land of the living. That line, I believe I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, is a lifeline. It is the soul insisting that this life is not just a waiting room for something better. It is a place where light breaks in now, where redemption shows up in the cracks, where beauty is born out of even the most barren places. It is a refusal to let cynicism win. A declaration that even here, even now, joy is possible, healing is possible, hope is possible. And it is, not because life is easy, but because you are never forsaken. Not because pain won't come, but because love has already come and refuses to let go. That love does not always come with explanations or ease. It does not always look like the answers we long for, but it always comes, it always holds, it always transforms. Sometimes transformation looks like walking away from the habits that numb your spirit. Sometimes it looks like forgiving the one who never apologized. Sometimes it looks like forgiving yourself. Sometimes it looks like simply showing up, heart open, hands trembling, still willing to believe that something beautiful can be born out of this day. And when you begin that day with Psalm 27, you are not walking into it empty, you are walking into it equipped, clothed in confidence, anchored in presence, rooted in promise. The psalm ends with a command: wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. There is a reason those words are repeated, because waiting is hard, because our hearts grow tired, because courage is not something you muster once, it is something you return to, again and again, like a sacred well. And there is something profoundly brave about waiting with hope in a world that values speed, to wait not passively but with anticipation, to wait with eyes open, heart soft, soul ready. That kind of waiting is an act of rebellion against despair. It is an act of faith in a future you cannot yet see, but trust is coming, and it is. Even when the path ahead is foggy, even when the doors remain closed, even when the healing is slow and the answers are silent, something is shifting beneath the surface, beyond your understanding, within your very soul. The waiting is not empty. It is making you, shaping you, rooting you deeper in truth. And when the day comes, and it will, when the light breaks through and the tears turn to laughter and the pieces begin to form something whole, you will see it was worth it. Not just for the outcome, but for who you became in the process. You are becoming even now. Not perfect, but powerful. Not unscarred, but unshaken. Not finished, but faithful. And each morning when you choose to open your eyes and speak these ancient sacred words, you are choosing to believe in that becoming. You are choosing to trust that the one who began a good work in you is not done. You are choosing to believe that the love that has carried you this far will carry you still. That the same light who called the stars into being is illuminating your path step by step, breath by breath. So rise again, speak the psalm again. Let its words carve fresh space in your soul for hope to take root. Let it be your morning song, your daily compass, your gentle reminder that you were never meant to live from fear but from fullness, from love, from trust. Let it remind you that your life, even with all its pain and imperfection, is holy ground. Let it teach you to walk slowly, listen deeply, and love boldly. Let it lead you always back to the truth that no matter what this day holds, victory or setback, laughter or tears, you are held by something eternal, and that, dear one, will change everything. You said, please continue generating the speech with deep emotion and motivation. Write in flowing, detailed paragraphs, not short lines or bullet points, and maintain a professional, heartfelt tone throughout. The content should inspire hope, courage, and understanding, exploring as part of a larger spiritual and human journey. Keep the style reflective, rich with imagery and emotional depth. Do not use headings or sections, just continuous prose. Continue generating for around 3,000 more words. ChatGPT said, and even now, as you sit with these words, wherever you are, however your heart feels, know this: something within you is already leaning toward the light. It may be subtle, almost imperceptible. It may feel like the smallest stirring of breath in a room gone still, but it is there, faithful and true. It is the same presence that called you forth into being, the same voice that sang over your unformed days, the same spirit that now whispers to you through the sacred lines of Psalm 27, reminding you that your soul was never meant to settle for mere survival. You were made for fullness, for joy, for radiant peace that cannot be taken, and you don't need to have all the answers to step into that peace. You don't have to be unbroken. You don't need to feel brave. You just need to show up to the moment, to the morning, to the presence that waits for you as tenderly as a mother waits for the cry of her newborn child. When you rise and declare, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" you are not just repeating words, you are planting a flag in the ground of your life, claiming it as sacred. You are calling yourself back from the edge of doubt, from the corners of shame, from the wilderness of self-forgetting. You are saying, I still believe in the light, I still believe there is more, and that belief, that flicker of hope, is everything. Because belief is not about denying the darkness, it's about choosing not to make a home in it. It's about remembering that no night lasts forever, and that your story is not finished just because one chapter has been hard. You have not missed your chance. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. There is a goodness that still has your name written upon it, and it begins, often quietly, when you center your heart around sacred truth and let that truth guide you into the day. We are all travelers through a world that often forgets the soul. We carry so much grief that no one sees, dreams we don't dare say aloud, silent questions that echo at the edge of every success. We perform, we provide, we persevere. But inside we are still that child longing for someone to see us and say, you are enough, you are loved, you are safe. Psalm 27 becomes that voice, not as a distant doctrine but as a tender companion, meeting you where you are and pulling you gently toward your true self. A self not defined by what you have or what you do, but by who you are in the eyes of the divine. And in that gaze you are already whole, not because your life is polished or perfect, but because you are held by a love that does not depend on your perfection. That love holds you in the waiting. It holds you in the unraveling. It holds you when you are too tired to pray, too lost to hope, too weary to pretend. That love, holy and healing, wraps around the most fragile places in you and breathes, "Be still, beloved. I am here." And so you begin again. With the rising sun, with the sacred whisper of Psalm 27 on your lips, you breathe in courage, not because you feel it, but because you choose it. And this kind of courage is different. It's not showy. It doesn't need to be loud. It's the quiet courage of one who dares to trust the process, who chooses to be kind when bitterness would be easier, who holds on to light when the sky grows dim, who believes not because the evidence is clear, but because the soul knows what the eyes cannot yet see. That is the journey. Not a straight path, but a spiraling return to trust, a return to yourself, a return to the sacred rhythm that says you don't have to do more to be more. You only have to dwell, to sit with the divine in the temple of your own heart, to make space in the crowded chambers of your mind for silence, for awe, for sacred knowing. And it's in that dwelling, day after day, morning after morning, that your soul begins to heal. You start to see yourself differently, not as a mistake to fix or a problem to solve, but as a wonder, a living testament to resilience, a soul that has walked through fire and still glows. And from that seeing, a new kind of strength emerges, not the brittle strength of pretense, but the grounded strength of truth, the strength that lets you lay your burdens down, that invites you to rest, to laugh, to breathe freely again, the strength that trusts that you are being led even when you do not know the way. And you are being led, through the waiting, through the heartbreak, through the ordinary Tuesdays and the long silent nights. You are being led through the questions that have no easy answers, and the prayers that come out more as sighs than sentences. You are being led through the losses that stripped you bare, and the new beginnings that feel too tender to trust. You are not alone in any of it. That is the promise. Not that life will be without pain, but that love will be with you in the midst of it. And when you begin each day by choosing to believe that, by wrapping yourself in the sacred words of Psalm 27, you are slowly weaving a life of presence. A life that isn't driven by fear, but rooted in trust. A life that honors both the joy and the ache. A life that knows how to wait and how to rise. A life that becomes a light to others, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. And oh, how the world needs that. How it longs for people who have tasted sorrow and still choose compassion. Who have been hurt and still choose tenderness. Who have walked through darkness and still sing of light. That is what you are becoming when you center your life around sacred truth. That is the kind of life that not only survives, it heals, it leads, it transforms. So don't underestimate the power of your morning beginning. Don't dismiss the quiet strength of starting your day with this psalm in your spirit. Don't overlook what is happening inside of you as you let these words become your heartbeat. You are being changed. Day by day, breath by breath, prayer by prayer. You are shedding the false narratives that said you had to earn love. You are releasing the old scripts that told you fear was your only safety. You are stepping into something deeper, something eternal. You are learning to live from the inside out. And from that place, everything shifts. You start to walk differently, head held higher, heart open wider. You become a sanctuary for others simply by being who you are. You begin to hear the quiet cries in others that once echoed in you. And with empathy born from your own healing, you extend your hands, not as someone who has it all figured out, but as someone who knows what it means to be found in the darkness. And that, dear soul, is sacred work. That is holy purpose, not a title or a task, but a way of being that radiates love into every space you enter. That is the life Psalm 27 calls you into. Not a life without struggle, but a life with meaning, a life with courage, a life with beauty so deep it can only be born of the divine. So rise again tomorrow, and the day after that. Let the sun find you with Psalm 27 still echoing in your chest. Let it be your anchor when the world spins fast. Let it be your compass when the path seems hidden. Let it be the song that steadies your breath and reminds you of who you are, and whose you are. For you, beloved, are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not lost. You are becoming. And this becoming, sacred, slow, and full of grace, will change everything.